welcome to the Sidewalk CEO Podcast, a podcast for small business owners by small business owners. Each week, the Sidewalk CEO speaks with Frankfort area business owners about their journeys, sharing insights and firsthand experiences that can help fuel your path to success. Here are your hosts, Sheri Donahue, CEO and Chief Cybersecurity Evangelist of Commonwealth Sentinel Cybersecurity, and Leo Haggerty, founder of TCHQ Communications.
And I am Leo Haggerty from TCHQ Communications, along with my partner in crime,
Sheri Donahue from Commonwealth Sentinel Cybersecurity.
And welcome to the Sidewalk CEO Podcast. Each week we talk to entrepreneurs and business owners in the Franklin County, Frankfort area about their businesses, how they got into business, what challenges they faced, how they overcame them, and maybe a little advice for folks who might be thinking about getting into business for themselves. And we are now, I think we're getting up there into almost double digits on episodes.
Double digits now. Yeah.
So far, so good. Today, our guest is from River City Provisions, Natalie Wilkerson. Natalie, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So before we start talking about River City Provisions, and virtually everybody we have had on has more than one business, so we'll get into some of your other interests as well. Why don't you just tell folks listening a little bit about yourself and what made you want to start River City Provisions?
Sure. I grew up here and moved back in 2003 after getting my master's in historic preservation and civil engineering from University of Kentucky. And so
I've known you for a number of years, and I did not know that. So I'm going to learn all sorts of new things today.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. The information will just start pouring out.
And now that she knows you're an engineer, you're her new best friend.
That's awesome.
So I moved back because I had a really, strong interest in downtown revitalization and historic preservation. And again, that was in 2003 when there was a lot going on, beginning to go on again in downtown Frankfort. And my husband and I, our first project was almost 20 years ago. We, along with a little neighborhood consortium, saved the old Noonan's building from demolition. You might better know it now as Jesse's Frame Shop, which has been there she's been there forever. And a little neighborhood consortium bought that building to save it from demolition. And then Layne and I, along with Ellen and Jim Glasgow, who are also passionate about downtown and, revitalizing the neighborhood, bought that project and rehabbed the building fully. And it's been a good corner building ever since.
And how did that lead to River City Provisions?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Patience. So, 8 years ago, my current business partner, Jen Williamson, and I, she's a registered architect in town and has done a lot of preservation projects in town and around central Kentucky. About 8 years ago, we started a consulting business called Cumberland Ventures. And so we've been doing historic preservation consulting, doing tax credit applications and National Register nominations. Anyway, just helping big projects rehabilitate old buildings. And so, that was 8 years ago that we started that. And in I'm thinking, sort of COVID time. So maybe 3 years ago, Jen was the project architect on 311 Saint Clair, which was the first of the downtown boutique hotel businesses to open up, and also owned the rear adjacent building on Main Street that people probably know. People my age know as Marshall Steiner. People younger than me maybe know it as Backstreet Diner. But anyway, this building on Main Street had been a diner for several decades, and Jen and her husband had bought it and rehabilitated that building and saw the opportunity there, since the buildings back up to each other at the rear, to develop a little courtyard space in between. And we saw a need with more visitors coming into Frankfort, post-COVID, and with the bourbon industry really taking off from a tourist standpoint, we saw the need to get more retail on the first floor and move some of these office uses out of our prime real estate. And the connection between the Hauser Tavern and 311 Saint Clair and our store River City Provisions would just kind of came naturally. There were people in town who were going to need places to stay and things to do, and we wanted to provide a storefront that would give them a little slice of Frankfort and let them take a little bit of Frankfort home with them on their journey.
And so you actually, when you started, you had another business inside too.
Not my business.
No, but there was another business inside of yours.
Yeah, that building. Over the last 10 years, that building has been an art gallery kind of studio space. There were a couple of nonprofits that had offices in that building.
No, but I meant you had the linen closet was housed inside of yours for a short time.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah. We for the first year that we were open, we shop shared with the linen closet, and then a space 2 doors down became available for rent, and the linen closet moved their business 2 doors down, and so now we both. So it's like the perfect scenario. We had this little incubator space so we could both get up on our feet, and now we've got 2
and
retail
you also
spaces.
have one of our very first guests has a water filling station there.
That's
Celia
right.
Doss.
Yes, Living Waters Kentucky has a refill station in our space as well. Yeah.
So it's all sorts of
partnerships and collaborations. Yeah, the downtown business community is really really strong in that respect.
I think I have said this to you before. I know I've said it on the show before. I moved here from Middlesboro in 2008, and comparing Frankfort in 2008 to Middlesboro in 2008 was kind of apples to apples. And my wife moved here in 2011. She's like, "This is the state capital? Really? Is this it?" And post-COVID, it's like we drive around on a Saturday looking for something to do. And she's like, "I can't believe this is the same town that I moved to 12, 13 years ago." Just the amazing things that have happened, particularly in the downtown area in the last, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And we really pride ourselves on being open 7 days a week, because it's not only weekends that people come downtown to shop and, have fun. So we're open 7 days a week so that anybody can come down at any time.
This will be in the show notes, but they are located at 232 West Main Street, and that you are on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll have links for all of that.
Wonderful.
So let's talk a little bit more about River City Provisions and what folks can find when they walk in. What would somebody expect?
Yeah. So I think of us as kind of a modern day general store. We have provisions, hence the name, for people who are traveling who forgot their toothpaste or need a charger or need a snack on the go. We've got a water refill station in case you got a water bottle that you need to fill up while you're walking down the street. So we've got that little area of business. We also have local artists. We have a ceramic artist, a painter, a leather. What's the right word for that? Anyways, we've got leather products that are handmade and jewelry too, all locally made. So we try to have a little, again, small scale thing that somebody can pick up and we'll remind them of their time in Frankfort.
I think the first time that I had stopped in was Christmas-ish 23. And from the name, I was half expecting it to be like trail mix, and which there is some of that.
We do have trail mix, Leo.
But that's kind of my point, is that is what's there, but there's so much more.
Yes. Yeah. We really are. We try to meet the needs of lots of different types of customers. We're particularly fond of our what we call hometown proud T-shirts and apparel items. We have hats and shirts and sweatshirts with the new Frankfort flag logo. We've got some neighborhood T-shirts with.
I gotta say, when I saw the design, I'm like, ooh, I don't really like that, but I've seen it on some stuff, and it probably was purchased at your store. The nice tumbler. It looks really cool.
Yeah. It's something. I mean, I think it maybe almost looks better on merch than it does as a flag itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've had a whole lot of fun playing with the design and some of the colors that it works with. It's and everybody, even if they're not from Frankfort, people comment like, "Oh, what's that?" And some people say, "Oh, is that the new flag?" So we enjoy being able to get it out there.
It is something that if somebody wanted a cool T-shirt or tumbler, it doesn't matter that it's the Frankfort flag. It looks cool.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I've noticed, I come down and get my refill on my water, and so I'm down there like about once a week. So I'll come during the day because, I live in Louisville, so I have to get my refill during the workday or after work. And even in the middle of the week, if I'm down there, I notice there are a lot of people that, like, you can tell are tourists. And so that really kind of surprised me that there would be that many tourists, like, through the week like that.
Well, you take vacations for a whole week, don't you?
What is that? Vacation?
Yeah.
I've heard that word.
People who take vacations tend to not just go for a weekend. So, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, and the 311 Saint Clair and the Ashbrook and the Delegate, having places for people to stay overnight. We've noticed a big pickup of traffic during the week because of it, foot traffic during the week because of those 3 hotels. It's been really nice.
I was going to say, I've noticed too, when I've come into your store, I have to walk through and, so I'm looking at what you have in there, and that you don't always have the same T-shirts. I've noticed that it changes out periodically, which is good.
We do all the designs ourselves, and we print them in town locally at CLS. And we try to keep it, we try to mix it up. And we also try to not, we don't want to saturate the market. So we get some, we push a design out, and when it gets sold, and we move on to the next thing. So
I think that's great.
Yeah, we've got another little project in the works for a shirt and sweatshirt that we're really excited about, with an image of a local friend of ours. So we look forward to that.
Interesting.
So it's a tease. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that your first tease of the podcast?
I think so. Yeah, I think
exciting.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
because actually our last guest actually just told us what their plans were. We're like, really? So obviously part of the opening of the new hotels is we're a huge part of the Bourbon Trail and folks coming from Bourbon. Is that kind of who you're seeing, or are you seeing more of a variety of folks stopping in?
So the Bourbon Trail is definitely lots of people come in with their Buffalo Trace band, yes, on their wrist. We see, and that gives me a lot to talk about. I could, blather on all day about other places they should go and see. Some people, but plenty of locals come through on their, because they haven't been downtown in a while, or that sort of thing. As far as tourism, though, I would say yes, it's mostly Bourbon Trail. We had the most awesome thing we had. And was a destination wedding across the street. They were married at the courthouse, took their pictures, and this was in January or maybe early February. It was snowing that day. Oh, yeah. It was so awesome. So I saw them taking pictures in front of House of Commons, the Bourbon Library, and they came over and walked through the store because again it was snowing. It was like a random Tuesday or Wednesday, but they were staying across the street at an Airbnb, and the bridal party was staying at the Ashbrook. Anyway, they came in the store. We had a big time. I took lots of pictures of them. And then the bride came back just a couple weeks later and brought her friends down because they had enjoyed their time in Frankfort so much. They were from Northern Kentucky, but they had enjoyed their time so much that she wanted to bring her friends back.
Oh, neat.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frankfort has a lot to offer besides the downtown, but it's just so convenient now between places to stay, places to eat, places to shop. You really can make a day of it and not have to leave more than a 2 or 3 square block area.
Right. Just park your car and walk the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. I sort of had the same thing when, because like I said, I moved back in 2003 and thought, okay, Frankfort's got enough to do to keep you busy for a day. And now Frankfort's got enough to keep you busy for days and days and days.
Well, and I've done a lot of work in tourism, particularly in Eastern Kentucky. And the problem they have is they have a lot of things for you to stop and do for an hour, but they don't have a reason for you to stay overnight. And I think that's where, we don't really necessarily in Frankfort have that one thing, but we've now got 15 things that will take you an hour to an hour and a half to do. And that's a nice weekend.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. We've got the Grand Theater. I mean, Buffalo Trace people spend all day there. I personally don't, but, but there's a variety of things too. So I think Frankfort has enough now with the retail and the restaurants and
events
and the events that lots of people with lots of different interests can come down and have a really good time.
Speaking of interests, so you do a little more than just the River City Provisions as far as, and you kind of alluded to that earlier with the frame shop, but so you buy properties and rehabilitate it. And
so that is, again, part of my interest in preservation and revitalizing Frankfort and making it just a really good place to be. My particular interest is in downtown. That's where I live. And that's where most of where I think the interesting history is, and the kind of it's the kind of place that gets people interested. Again, there are other activities and resources and places outside downtown that are wonderful. But my interest is in buildings and the built environment. And so hence my interest and endeavors into rehabilitation projects in the downtown area. Yeah, I didn't think to count before I came down here, but my husband and I, besides the Noonan's building that was our first project, we've done a handful of other projects, both commercial buildings, single family homes, and then we live in an old house as well for the last 15 years, and that is an ongoing project.
I think a house of any age is an ongoing project, but yeah, particularly the older ones. So what are some of the more interesting commercial properties that you've done?
Well, we've done I'll mention the frame shop again for the third time. We no longer own, but we, along with the Glasgows, did the former George A. Hill photography studio on 2nd Street that is now my old Kentucky Om yoga studio. And
I just love that name.
Isn't it good? Yeah. It's good.
And I know her wherever I see her driving because that's what her license plate says is Kentucky Om.
And then our most recent commercial project was the former Little Market, again, if you're my age, on the corner of Todd and Logan that everybody else now knows as Andy's Bake Shop.
Everybody knows.
Yes. Yeah. That was a really, it was just a really meaningful project for me. I grew up with friends who lived on Murray Street, and we used to go there, and their parents had a charge account at the Little Market, so we could go and pick up whatever, they needed for dinner. Plus we'd get lollipops and Cokes and that sort of thing. And so it was, there also used to be a payphone on the side of the Little Market. So back when you were just roaming the neighborhood, you could stop if you needed to and pick up the phone and call and say, "Oh, Mom, it's going to be another hour."
Kids today probably have no idea what a payphone is.
Except the new Superman kind of alludes to being in a, the...
Oh, yeah. What does Superman do without a phone booth?
Yeah. Well, he does the circular doors, whatever those things, the rotating doors.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
So that was really, it was really awesome to be in that building. It was a slow project. We undertook it, we undertook it during COVID, so we had a hard time getting people to work there. But
there's a recurring theme here too, that a lot of the folks that we've been talking to started something during COVID.
Yeah,
which intuitively is not a very bright idea to start something during the pandemic, but they're all still here today. I would agree with that. It is counterintuitive, but it also gave people a little bit. For me, it gave me time to really focus on that project. We could take our time with it. We showed it to a couple of different potential businesses. And for folks that weren't driving by Andy's, that was the Leaning Tower of Frankfort as long as I had been in Frankfort.
There was a whole day of jacking that building back up to almost square. It is not square by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, our contractor did that in a day and didn't break any of the glass in the windows. Wow. We were impressed. Now, a month or so later, a huge storm came through South Frankfort and busted out one of the storefront windows. But the jacking it did not do that. But yeah, when we showed it to Andy and Tara, they had just moved here from North Carolina to do different, for different professional needs that sort of collapsed during COVID, and they had been doing a stand at the farmers market, again, as just something to do during COVID, and thought that they could take their business somewhere, and they've just
And they obviously have.
slam freaking dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Biggest problem I have with them now is not being able to get in on a Saturday morning. I mean,
My daughter and her friend were one of the first employees that they had, and they went this past weekend on Saturday before going back to college, and my daughter said that's the longest line I've ever seen, and I worked there.
This past Saturday was a huge line.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
That's great.
Wednesday's my new day to go.
Well, and we'll get Andy and Tara on sometime, and
Yeah,
they can
you
talk
need
more
to.
talk some more about their business. But I mean, anytime you're dealing with an old building, finding anything square or straight is next to impossible to find. One of my first homeowner projects, my wife wanted shelving in the window for her plants. I measured twice. Before I cut, I used the level. It's all perfect. I take a step back, and the window was crooked. The shelves were perfectly level and straight. If you put a marble on it, it wouldn't roll, but it looked like it was falling over because
you have to make that decision. Are we going to go with the existing square, or are we going to make it square? Yeah.
And then after that, we
No
kind of started
90
looking at the
degrees
floors, and it got to be fun to like roll balls around and just see where they would end up.
Yeah.
I ended up under the house with jacks because we discovered we were sinking in the middle. But that's a story for another day. So, well, let me ask you this question twice, but from two different perspectives. So somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, Natalie, I'm thinking about opening a shop. What have you learned from setting up River City Provisions that you would tell them?"
Well, like I just talked about with this project on East Todd that we did, I think go slowly is important. It took us, and we're still learning about our customers and trends. I mean, just forget about all the different people that walk in that have different needs and different tastes and that sort of thing. The trends of retail are really, I find them hard to predict. Maybe there are people that are more in tune to this than I am. So I think going slowly, we really, again, with shops sharing, initially, it enabled us to slowly build our inventory based on not only what we like, because you also want to know what you can talk confidently about. Why do I want this water bottle? Well, it's because it holds this much, and you want to be able to have products that you believe in. So I think the opportunity to go slowly, build out your inventory is really important, and getting good employees. We have a couple of wonderful employees and a couple of high school students that bring that extra energy that is also really fun.
Excellent. So now from somebody who might be thinking, and let's face it, Frankfort's got a lot of older buildings, at least older for the United States, not for Europe, but older buildings that really need some tender loving care and could be something special for somebody. What would you advise somebody who was thinking about getting into a project like that?
Well, that's a pretty long list.
At least she didn't say don't do it and went running from the room screaming.
Again, I think you really have to believe in the project. I think you have to be passionate about it. There are a lot of issues that come up during a renovation project that you don't necessarily predict or expect or want to deal with. But I really think that the end product is worth all that, and getting a contractor that you trust and can work. I'm going to use the word honestly because a contractor and an owner have to be honest with each other about conditions, about solutions, about costs and all that kind of stuff. I don't mean it in the sense that like your contractor is going to rob you blind, but I think that honest, open communication is so important during a renovation
expectations
project.
and deliver.
Yeah.
It's like I was in software development with a company I worked for before, and the COO would ask the developer for something. Can we have this by such and such a date? Yes. He always said yes. And then something would happen and we wouldn't meet that date. And, so the CEO is getting frustrated. And of course, the contractor, the developer is getting frustrated because he's really trying to meet those deadlines. So I had a conversation with both of them. And I told the COO, I said, you need to make him feel comfortable in saying, no, I can't meet that deadline. And I talked with the developer and I said, be honest.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
It's better than being frustrated, And so.
And creating more conflict down the road when nobody's getting what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe if you're honest about it, you could get additional resources, or if, you want X, Y, and Z from a new building and the contractor's looking at it and go, no, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's better than dragging you along for 6 months and I'm going, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. With our projects too, the little Andy's Bakery was different because it was just, it's just the one building with the one use. With our other commercial buildings, again, going slowly, we were able, in one case, to finish out the apartment first and get a person upstairs very quickly while we courted tenants for the downstairs. So if you can, if you don't get ahead of yourself in that way, also, it's nice to be able to, that affords you a little bit of, you can get, focus on one little aspect at a time, and then often will lead to a more successful project.
So do you have your PE license as a civil engineer?
No.
Okay. I don't have one either. I'm an engineer, but I don't have a PE. But I'm just curious because you work so much with
for
buildings.
those of us that are civilian
professional engineering license. I'm sorry.
When I got my my master's in civil engineering, kind of as I was in school for historic preservation.
Okay.
I was taking some civil engineering classes because I wanted to get into this really, nuts and bolts of preservation, and joists and, screws, that part of preservation. And so I was taking some civil engineering classes during my preservation master's program as electives and that sort of thing. And then at one point, one of my professors said to me, you can take 4 more classes and we can get you a master's. You just have to do that's not right. It's not just, it's truly not that easy to get a civil engineering master's degree. But I went to it as sort of a supplement. Because you had done so much
of the work already.
Yes. And so it was a supplement. So I never really intended to work professionally as an engineer.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you are talking with a contractor, whether he's talking out his butt or not.
Yes, which is a good skill to have in the kind of consulting that I do as well. Not because I want to second guess what a contractor is doing, but it helps me understand the whole project a whole lot better.
Well, and if you're working with another individual who doesn't have that kind of background, it lets you translate.
Right.
I mean, very often what I end up doing is having to translate tech speak to people who aren't technical. And so you can do that with, this is a Joyce. And my knowledge is very limited. I think we've just expanded my vocabulary.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one term you can throw in there. I have this joke that I like to tell. I had a friend whose father's job took him to China for several years, and his father would always say, we talk about the language barrier, and he said, you're fluent in a language when you can tell a joke, and so the joke I like to tell in historic preservation is about lean-tos, and if you're not laughing, then but I think the same is true. If you can make light of, if you can joke around about your within this professional jargon, then you have
to know your audience.
Yes, exactly.
And Sheri thought it was hilarious.
She's good like that.
Well, now with River City Provisions, do you all have an online store, or is it just
We do not. Okay. We have we do ship. So, a nice couple came in and wanted to ship something to their daughter in Louisville, funny enough. But anyway, we've shipped for people who come in and shop and want it sent someplace else, or some people have seen like an image on Facebook or something like that, and they can call in and we can take care of them that way.
Okay.
My sister-in-law bought my wife's birthday presents this year at a local bookstore, who then shipped them to our house. And it's like,
really?
You could have just called. We could have stopped by.
Yeah.
But she likes to support local businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an important part of all of this, is having people, customers, fellow business owners who want to support local businesses and see their town thrive and, be interesting, not just for us, but for anybody who comes.
And that's what we're doing with Sidewalk CEO.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that we need to touch on? Any other secret stuff you've got planned that you might want to tease?
I've talked more about myself in the last 30 minutes than I usually do. So,
well, like I said, I've known you for years and I've learned a couple of new things. So
you should talk about yourself more often. It's not always about the kids and the husband. There's Natalie.
That's right. Well, River City Provisions is open 7 days a week, and I'm there several of those days. So come down and see me.
And she might even talk about herself.
Yes.
But she'll talk about her products all day long. So River City Provisions, 232 West Main Street in Frankfort. They're also on Facebook and Instagram. So you can take a peek if you're not a local and don't want to walk downtown. Natalie, thank you very much for joining us, and have a great day.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you, Natalie.
I am Leo Haggerty with TCHQ Communications.
And I'm Sheri Donahue with Commonwealth Sentinel Cybersecurity.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Sidewalk CEO podcast with Sheri Donahue of Commonwealth Sentinel Cybersecurity and Leo Haggerty of TCHQ Communications. You can learn more about the Sidewalk CEO on the web at thesidewalkceo.com and on social media. The Sidewalk CEO is recorded in the studios of TCHQ Communications in Frankfort, Kentucky. Check us out next week for the next episode of the Sidewalk CEO.